Mr. Sean Yahn, how are you?
I am well, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm envious. I see sunshine behind you. What the heck is that?
Oh, it's California life.
California. Everybody. I think heaven is a local call from there, isn't it?
I think it is. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
5 area code, which is great. So it's a local call for me. So I like it.
What part of California in?
We are in the southernmost central coast. So we're just north of LA by about an hour.
Okay. Well, you're in the cool part.
Extremely cool.
Extremely cool. Yeah. Until it gets hot.
Chill little area right here. This is the surfer town. Beautiful mountains on one side, and then we have the ocean on the other. So it's coastal breeze constantly.
Cool. Oh, I love it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful life.
Where the people who are listening and who are in Minnesota right now are not enjoying our conversation yet.
Well, I'm sorry for them.
Yeah. So, hey, listen, let me put a little bit of background on this. You and I met through the most random of circumstances. You've got a YouTube channel about your window company. I don't want to take away your intro. So why don't I do this? Sean Yahn, who the heck are you? And how is it that you come to be speaking to all these contractors and construction professionals, business owners around the world?
All right. Well, I am a contractor, and I started working at a window manufacturer. And I learned every bit of how to manufacture, and so tear downs, put together, quality assurance side of the business, moved me to installing, and then ultimately moved me to taking care of the consumer end. So put me in a collared shirt, put me in a company truck, and sent me out and said, take care of customers.
Okay.
And the business that I was working for, the manufacturing place, the owner, his whole family runs the business, and everybody called him Grandpa. And I feel like he taught me everything that I would need to know to gear me to be successful, as long as I follow basically a principle that you really can't have a problem out there. So I learned it. My last 10 years there, I was a service technician, warranty claims,
right.
And you learn a lot, the most on the warranty side of the business. So I learned a lot during the install period. I learned a lot during the manufacturing stage, all of the, mins and maxes and everything. So that's all fine. But it was really the customer end. What's the customer expectation?
Right.
What is a proper installation? What is a poor installation?
And this is for stuff that your company had installed that you were doing warranty work for, or were you guys the manufacturer/distributor?
Manufacturer/distributor.
Okay.
So there was authorized dealers, and you can't police, as a manufacturer, you cannot police how you install something.
Right? How somebody else installs something.
Right.
Right.
So you can give guidelines, you can give principles,
specs. Yeah.
How things should be done, but that does not mean that dealership or installer is going to adhere to those codes or, right. Install tactics. I mean, things that, you should be doing, but if they don't do it, you can't police it. All you can do is say, hey, you got a customer calling us, and now we're answering the call, but it goes right back to you because we didn't install this, and it's an install-related issue. It's not a manufacturing.
Yeah. I have to ask you, only because I think it's probably going to be a funny answer.
Sure.
What's the weirdest thing you've seen used as a shim?
Okay.
And that was a random shot, but I'll bet you found construction pencils, pennies. Like, what have you seen?
Well, the wrong applications is what I've seen. So if you're on a patio door and you have a door sitting on concrete, and then they'll use a wood shim underneath it. Anybody who's in construction knows you don't take a wood shim and put it on concrete, right? If you're a framer and you're building up a frame on top of a concrete platform, then you use treated pressurized wood. And then everything on top of that is going to be your pine or whatever it is that you're using.
But you still put a vapor barrier anyways, like there's still a vapor barrier between. Yeah.
Sure. But in this case, the wood had rotted away and the door was no longer straight at the bottom.
Right.
So I'd pull the carpet back, I'd look and go, oh my gosh, it's rotted away wood shim. You know, you can use wood shims if you're using the sides and you're shimming a door over or a window or whatever. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
But you don't put a wood shim underneath a door, right? And then water has gotten to it. It's just absolutely eroded away the wood. It's in bad shape. And now the customer's like, well, the door worked fine when I first got it. Well, I'm sure it did. Over time, you had, you know, erosion of that wood and rotted out, and now you have nothing.
Have you seen any other crazy things in there? I'm just trying to find the funny stuff that people think is going to work.
It's not, because the thing is we don't use anything like that. So as far as from the warranty side, nothing really. I've seen windows and doors get installed with no caulking at all. And a customer walked, or a dealership walked away and said, yeah, that's good enough. And then the customer called on the first rain and said, it's coming in like it's a waterfall.
Oh, no.
And I was like, and this was from a reputable business. And I had to make the call.
So this is an interesting point, though, because you're at the distributor manufacturer level, and we're now going to dealers, and dealers are selling to Joe and Susie Homemaker. And so this is a message I want to send to the business owners who are listening to this, is our crew is going out there, and unless we have systems, unless we have rules for our crew to follow, they're going to think it's just, they didn't grow up installing windows. They're going to think, put the window in there, put the flashing back on the sides or whatever trim you're going to do, and walk away. It's up to us to have the system that says, here are the 4 steps for installing a window. And I know you probably have it on the documentation that's there. I know you have it. But that's our job as listeners to you right now to take away. And so if people listening or watching this as a YouTube video, please, the message that Sean's given us here is you got to train your guys, because you've got a reputable dealership, but your crew, and it's hard to find people. It's hard to find good people. I get that. Let's level set that right now. I get that. But it's still my job as the business owner, or your job, to find a solution to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a leadership pyramid, right? So everything falls on me. You know, that's the harsh reality of being the business owner. Yeah. Everything's gonna fall on me. But then me, as when I first started out, I had my right-hand man and then a helper. And then that right-hand man becomes a lead installer when I'm no longer in the field installing. The other helper he's risen up, he's had time in the field now, he's learned the way we've all done it. Now we have 2 lead installers. Now they have their own trucks, they have their own crews, and I walk the jobs, right? So whether it's, you know, later in the week or the next following week, I'll go by and take a look at this job. Customers like it. And then also it gives me a chance to confirm that everything that I've taught is being adhered to, is being done. And it happens. These guys do a really, really great job. I'm blessed to have the crew that I have, the multiple crews that I have, because they've adhered to what I was teaching. And right. It's an integrity thing.
You set the standards.
Set the standards, but do the right thing every time. Just do it right.
Yeah.
You know, because.
Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, because you don't want to go back and do it again, or, you know, it always costs more to do the work to fix it than just do it right the first time. It's just so easy.
So much work and hassle. You got to redispatch. You got to reschedule people. Yeah. Hey, you mentioned something. Did you call him Grandpa or Gramps? Who is the gentleman at the?
Yeah. So the owner of that manufacturing, they call him Grandpa.
Okay, Grandpa.
He's passed. He's since passed. But you know, special place in the heart. You know, very Christian. Very you know, he wanted you to call him Grandpa. You know,
he was proud of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. But he said something to you that I didn't catch. Did he say there are no problems? What did that mean?
There are no problems?
Yeah, I thought you said one of the things you learned there is there's no problems. And it sounded like I didn't catch that right. What was his favorite saying, or what did you learn from him?
So what I've learned from him is that, one, if you have a great product and you have great service, right? So that's a big one, big service. And then the integrity, never lie to a customer. So integrity means, do the right thing even when nobody's watching, right? But that also means no lies. Don't lie to a customer. Don't BS a customer, because they'll sense it, man. Human nature, one is they can sense when you're blowing smoke. And I'm just not that guy. I'm not a salesman, really. You know, my wife says, "Oh, I could sell ice to, what they're saying, ice to an ice, whatever." I mean, the thing about it is if I believe in something, then I can say, "Listen, I know this is a great product. We're going to offer you a great service, and we're going to take really good care of you." Yeah. His thing was that offer great service, have a great product, and never lie to a customer. And you can't go wrong. Yeah. You just can't. So maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, do the right thing, right? Always stand by and do the right thing. That's so fantastic. I mean, today we're here to talk to you about, I just want to help people, which is where you came from. And it's funny that that's the topic we landed on. When I went and checked out your LinkedIn profile, I see that your last position was a triage
coordinator.
Yeah. So that's a fancy word. I heard about triage when I was watching MASH years ago. So do you mind just to give us a little bit on your background for that? What does it mean that you're a triage coordinator?
Okay. So triage is a medical term. And what that basically means, it's triage is if you are in the medical field and you have a guy who's got a gunshot wound and a guy who comes up with a cut on his finger, who's more important right now? It's going to be that guy with the gunshot wound, right? So my job as a triage coordinator towards the end of my warranty years was basically talking to the customer over the phone and getting the information needed to make a great judgment call as to what's going to be needed for that call, how many technicians be needed, and then also how important. I mean, do we need to get this customer out immediately, or can that person out a week or two?
Sure,
you can get to them.
So prioritization became a big part of that job.
What it is. Prioritization. Triage is prioritization. That's the
perfect. Yeah. And so what made you have that switch to say, I think I want to hang my own shingle? How did you get, because everybody listening to this show is just like you. We're contractors and construction professionals running a crew of people, trying to get by, live up to our promises, sign great deals with great customers. But everybody has their own origin story. How did you decide to be a business owner?
Great question. So while working at the manufacturing plant, 17 years of working at the same place is quite a bit, and you can only grow so much there before you want to do like VP or something, but it's just not in the cards, really, right? And I just saw that one of the things that really got me going was thinking of the customers who I had to explain that, you know what, this is just not our issue. Unfortunately, we need to get you back to the original installers. And I always told myself, if I ever started my own business, I would make sure that would never be a customer of mine, where they're upset or they're hurt. They've spent so much money and they've been duped, And I swore, I said, if I ever did start my own business, then my priority would be customer is always number one. Take good care of people, right? Because literally they are paying the bills. I mean, customers pay for everything. They pay for the payroll and insurance and building and everything. There's so much that goes into owning and running a business. So your customer, you got to baby people, and I mean that with with the word. I don't mean to like baby people.
No, I know you mean it with respect. Like
with respect. Yeah. Take care of people.
You've made a promise, and they earned the right to be treated well.
Absolutely. So when I got to a certain point, working for the other company, I just said, you know what? I think my growth has pretty much capped. I need to do something a little bit more where I'm challenging myself. And I said, thinking back to those customers, I want to start something where I can really help people and also educate people. And again, I never came from a sales background. So I came into this as a technician's thought process, right? So, find out what the problem is, cure the problem and move on. But whole thing,
by the way, that's the sales process. Just so you know.
Yeah. But
hold on. How did you do that? And this is very common, by the way. People who have a trades business started as a trades expert. They're great at, let's start with foundations, great at framing, great at roofing, great at siding, great at windows, great at electrical. And they think, I got my own van. I'll just put out my own shingle and get some business cards, and now I have a business.
Yeah.
So how did you decide to go do that if sales wasn't your thing? Was that something hard to overcome?
I always thought about like how is my business going to run? Because I've never owned a business before. I said, so do I have to hire as a salesperson, or do I just go out and represent and just do my best? So that's literally what it came down to. It was like, listen, I don't trust, no disrespect, but I don't trust salespeople. I just don't.
Yeah.
So I said, I will go out. I own the business. I should be representing the business. I should be the one doing the measures. I should be the one dealing with what are the nuances that need to be adhered to for the front of this house. Mm-hmm. Or, there's just different things when you're doing replacement windows for customers or for houses. So I was like, if we're going to keep customers extremely happy and have really no complaints, then I need to be the one out there who has all the experience and look at every single one of these things and go, we shouldn't have any problems because, we're describing in the front, we have regular retro over the sides, we got to do a new construction door, all these different things, and explain to the customer why we're doing it this way.
Right.
And it's funny you say that. The customers that I explain all this to, they're like, you know what? We've had 2 other guys here and they didn't say anything.
No, and they wrote their quote on the back of a business card and handed it to me.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just so upfront with customers. I just give them all the information immediately. And so that way, when I walk away, they feel like they've been educated. So a couple of things happen. One, they either just want to go with me, or they say, we'll get back to you, and they'll get a hold of their other and say, what about this? And what about this? Because we've had one person over here that said this and this and this.
Yeah.
The trouble is, and I don't mean to disrespect, is you have sales guys that are going out and they're doing these measures and they're basically just doing a sales pitch. They're selling a car.
Yeah.
They know some things about the window install, but not much. Where I come from,
the technical background.
Yeah, the installations, years of installations. And I'm looking at this from an installer's point of view. And if I'm explaining to the person, watch out for this, make sure you ask about this, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so much.
Taking notes. Yeah.
And they're taking notes. And then, they'll call me up if they have any questions or email me. And I'm always open to that. I always say, please make sure that you're asking me questions.
Yeah.
Comes up, I want to be able to help you out. If there's
there's a reason I asked you that question. And it comes down to delegation and growing the business. You've got you've been blessed with this huge amount of knowledge and a place you obviously loved and respected working at. And they trained and educated you. But now you've got to grow your business and hire Dominic. I've never done windows. I didn't work there for 17 years. How do you trust that the estimates I do and the jobs that I do as your number 2, like the guy who's, my territory is the north side of town, let's just say. How did you get me to that point? And the reason I ask is because people who listen to this are asking that same question. How do I make more of myself? I can't be everywhere, but I can't trust my guys. I say guys, you know what I mean? Like, I can't trust my people to do a quote properly. We're going to lose money on that job. How did you overcome that?
So it's a promotional situation, right? So the guys who are my lead installers, you groom the people underneath you, right? Once you've done that, then I can take you, who's been installing as a lead installer, and I can take you and put you into a sales car and go out. Because now you understand exactly how to measure, you know exactly when to use a specific type of profile for retrofitting. You have a wood pop out around the wood. So you don't want to put retro flanges on your wood. You cut the flanges down so it sits inside the wood. So an installer is going to look at this and go, all right, so I know exactly what kind of window we're going to use.
Yeah.
Flange, because I've done it over and over and over again, right? So we're using a person who's installed just like I was, and then you put them out in the field and go, and I don't ask anybody to sell. I say, go get your measurements and answer questions. That's all I want you to do. I don't need you to go out there and try to sell the job, because the windows will sell themselves. And your knowledge of basically building trust with somebody is going to be enough. That's it.
I love it.
As long as you can get a connection and build trust with somebody, that will be enough. You don't need to be fancy with your words, fancy with your shirts and stuff like that. My shirt.
Is that a shot at me? That had to be a shot at me. when, for those of you who are watching the YouTube video, or if you're not, I went to lunch with a friend today who just started a helicopter company. And I thought I should dress up. So I actually have a pink polka dot shirt on.
It looks great.
Yeah, it jumps right off the screen. But again, that was a good shot. So going to these guys though, do you find yourself actively educating them? Like, do you have an agenda? Like, oh, this guy, I've just hired this guy, and he seems like a really good junior assistant. I don't know what else to call it, because I don't want to put words in your mouth. Here's the education plan I'm going to put somebody on. Do you have that built?
So it goes off of personality, right? Not everybody feels okay to go out and start measuring and talking about windows. So I try to hire for installers. And then the guys who are interested in maybe doing what I do, go out and work with the customer and do the measuring and just do some education, then we can talk. And it is always a constant grooming. And again, I don't have years and years of background of business owning, and it all goes off of trust. Just build trust with a person. That's it. You don't need to be smooth with words and quick speaking and stuff.
But I mean, teaching them how to do an estimate or how to take measurements the way you want measurements taken.
Oh yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, it's technical.
Yeah. So for one, I have one guy, Tristan, who's been with me since the very beginning, and he reminds me a lot of myself. The way he speaks, he's people tend to like him easily. He's very easy to like. And I use him every once in a while to go out there and do measures as well. And pretty soon he's going to be doing that full time to help me out. So it really just comes down to, he's seen me do it. Whenever we were side by side after an install, we'd have to go out and do measures for a few hours after installing. And he'd be with me. He'd see exactly how I do everything.
I see. So he shadowed you basically.
Yeah, he's always shadowed me. So he understood it. Now, the other thing is there's another guy named Lupe that I have, and I see good things for him as well. Very sharp. He wants to grow, and we'll have a spot for him to do the same thing, but I'll have him with me for a few weeks going out or with Tristan and just do the measuring with him, have him do the measuring and explain, how when we install, we do this, this, and this. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is why, and this is what we're measuring. And it's like, oh, got it. No problem. Easy. It's super, super easy. Right. So I think that's just it. It's just, you start with one person, you get them groomed the way you want them, and then they groom the next person in line, so on and so forth.
Yeah. I think you may have underestimated the culture that you've built in that company, where you hire the right people and then you keep them on board and they say, well, this is how a boss acts. Like, that's how I should act. And that's building the right culture and making sure that people know that what you would do, they would do, because they shadow you. I'm trying to find takeaway messages for people here listening who think it's impossible to find good people. No, it's not. We all are finding people. You either found the right people and ruined them by not supporting them,
right?
Or you found the right people and didn't train them. But either way, you found the people. And actually, I learned that from a franchisor, a multi-unit franchisee in the Pacific Northwest. He owns a ton of franchises in different home service industries.
Yeah.
And he was very blunt with me about that. Yeah. We're all hiring the same people, man.
Yeah. There's a ton of different styles of personalities, and not everybody is going to be right or equipped mentally to go out and put them in a car and say, hey, go sell some windows or go measure. And then they may be like, oh, I don't know. They would much rather just sit in the back and install windows for me. And they're totally happy with that. And guess what? I'm happy to have them. But there's a group of people that they want to challenge themselves. They want to challenge. They want to feel like, hey man, I've done this long enough. I want to be able to do something a little bit different. What do you got from me? Well, I can have you do this, and they might be like, yes, absolutely. They're up for the challenge. Everybody, for me, when I did a personality test, I forget what they called it, but you have the
DISC or Myers-Briggs or colors.
I'm sorry?
Was it DISC or Myers-Briggs or colors? Myers-Briggs. Yeah.
And they basically, I think they bring it down to 4 types of personalities. You have the owl, the eagle, the peacock, and the
Dove.
Dove. There it is. I came in as a peacock, right?
Go figure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
So did I, says the guy in the pink shirt who has 2 podcasts. Yeah, we're outgoing, we're gregarious, we talk to people, we're confident on stage, we're good at meeting new people, we're colorful, loud.
That's exactly it, right? And so if you hire people and you can place them, you're an owl, or you are definitely the dove, the person who just wants to help. They just, whatever is good for you guys, he's fine with, and if you can find that, you can delegate perfectly within that, just by understanding those 4 types of personalities. It's funny how that worked, but I think that's one of the things that I learned working over at the other job there, where they put me through classes, and that was one of the things, was learning personalities and being a leader, and reading books about leadership and stuff like that. And at that time I was thinking, I mean, this is great, I guess they're tasking me with these different things, but oh my gosh, now that I'm thinking back on it, it's like, oh, they were seriously packaging me up to be ready to fly on my own.
Yeah, they were grooming you.
They were grooming me.
Grooming you as well.
I don't know if they were so excited to watch me walk away, but at the same time, I'm selling their product, and, so it worked. It worked. And I'm challenging myself daily. And I use everything that I learned there to continue to run my business. And it's working. It's working.
How big's your business now? Like, you started, it was just you.
Yeah, it was just me, but now we have.
I mean by number of employees. You don't have to share any confidential info.
Oh, sure. No, we know number of employees. We have 8 or 9, not 8 now. We have 8 employees. We're going to hire another 2. We're going to open another location. So that's coming up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we're just going to go a little bit, about 2 hours north of us, go to Santa Maria, and open up another little spot there. But so that's why I'm grooming people to run this place while I go over there and basically start a new little location.
Start the new location, yeah. So one of the challenges you must have is that people typically don't go to trade school or any school to learn how to be a window installer.
True.
So how do you, and a lot of people who are listening do the same thing, like people don't go to school to be a drywaller. They do to be an electrician or a plumber, but not necessarily a plumber's apprentice or a junior, like, you know what I mean? So how do you find people and say, yeah, you know what, your skill set, you could be a great window installer. That's not what they told their mom they were going to do when they grew up at the kitchen table, right? Yeah. No. So how do you find that?
Well, whenever you put out ads, or I ask my guys, if you know of a friend or a family member or something, we just hired one guy who's the cousin of one of my employees, and he's such a hard worker. And he says, oh, my cousin, he's young, but he'll work hard. He'll work hard. And I said, well, that's all we need, because I don't need him to know how to install a window, because guess what? We can teach you. We can teach you how to install windows. You adhere to a certain set of guidelines, and you just repetitiveness is what it comes down to. At a certain point, then you understand what it is that we're looking for, how many, how you look at a reveal on a window, and if you got to add a shim, or if you just move the window over. There's different things that you got to look at.
Yeah.
But all that gets taught down the line. Everybody understands that. Everybody starts. I don't care if you've been installing for 10 years. If you get hired with me, I'm going to put you on the outside of the windows, learning step 1, until I feel, or everybody else feels, that, you know what, they got our ways down, our techniques for doing our caulking, because we are masters when it comes to the interior and exterior caulking of a window. We don't just walk in with a retro window, smack it in, and then just smear caulking all over your stuff and everything else. I've seen stuff like that.
Well, PL 400 works for everything. Didn't you know that?
And then I'm not into that. I'm into finished product. I want things to look perfect. And the guys all do that. So I can go, any one of these guys can go install a window. I can go behind them and watch them and go, they're doing it the way I would have done it. Good. And it's remarkable. It's wonderful. So I don't need you to understand how to install windows. I just need you to want to work, be okay with working outside, being on ladders and stuff like that. And
oh my gosh, being on ladders is a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing. I remember one of my first companies was a painting company, and I hired from the university. I went to the frat houses and I just put up flyers. Hey, I need to hire painters. And so these two guys were on the football team. They were enormous. And I got them set up on one side of the house, and then I walked around the other side of the house and I heard, you know, when a ladder's shaking, you hear tick, 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 tick.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, oh, that's a weird noise. So I walked back around and the guy was one rung off the ladder and he was holding on, and it was like, he was shaking. He was so scared. And I was like, are you okay? He goes, I can't do this job. And I'm like, you're enormous. Of course you've got all the muscle and everything. Couldn't do it. Like, he just couldn't climb a ladder. And today I still can't believe it.
Yeah. I mean, being enormous and all that, I mean, if anything, that probably hinders them.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean,
bigger,
just,
you know?
yeah, fear. It was fear.
Yeah, the guys that are running up the ladders are usually skinny, they're smaller. I have one guy just hired, he's 5'4", 5'5", but that boy will storm up a ladder, you know, and I'm just like, oh, you're an A+.
Oh, yeah.
I book, you know what I mean? No problem, just runs up there, doesn't even care about the height thing.
Yeah, that's hard to find, you know, or he's going to get, you know, the roofers are going to want him, right? Somebody. The soffit guys
can't have him. They can't have him.
Of course. Correct.
So
again, without giving away any deep confidences, what are you finding as the bottleneck you're trying to overcome in the business right now as you're growing?
Well, there's a lot of competition, right? And in my area, you know, you see other people trying to come in and put their stamp in the area. I do everything a little bit different. I feel, you know, we have our showroom that we're just about done. We have to order all the new windows. We just moved to a new location, larger location. So we can now have a showroom.
Oh,
and
good.
I'm doing this differently because when I usually go to a showroom, you know, if I go into another place and I want to see kind of how they're set up or whatever, they're usually 2x4 structures and they just have nail-fin windows that are inside there.
Yeah.
They're not showing how it would look in a house. So I have this set up to where it's stuck on the outside for one area. You have like siding, wood siding for another window. I'm looking at them right now. Unfortunately, I can't show, but it's.
But you mocked up a house. You mocked up a house, or you mocked up an inside.
Yes. So that way, when a person walks in, they can go, "Oh my God!" For one, it looks really cool, right? You walk into the area and you're like, "Oh my, this looks so neat in here." And then the other thing is, well, you get to see what it looks like on the drywall, how we trim out the doors, how we trim out the windows, all these different things. You're leaving gaps for the windows. That way, they can see leaving a main frame in. And then how the trim falls, and then the foams, showing them how this is actually going to work in their house, and then they can go, "I never even thought of that," or you know,
it's just a window. I didn't know that all this work went into it.
Exactly. So whenever they ask questions like, "Well, why would you leave the main frame in?" And in California, a lot of retro is happening out here, leaving main metal frames in, taking everything else out, taking a retrofit window, putting that in.
Oh, yeah.
Stucco, you don't have to pull, you don't have to redo drywall or anything. No paint, no nothing. It's just.
You wouldn't even know what happened. So that's interesting because breaking the stucco is a big deal. That's another trade. The color never matches. It's another couple days work. It's dusty. It's messy.
Right. So, you know, the vast majority of our business is retro replacement. You know, it's just huge out here. But also, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
Retro can get a bad name. You know, and it's caused by those who don't do things the right way, don't put the primary seal where it needs to go, doing just the secondary, using the wrong types of sealants. And you'll see it split, you know, dry up and split, and, vinyl can contract. And
that's right. It can dry, especially in the heat. Yeah.
And so with that, caulking has to be able to move with it so it can stay sealed. Well, some people might use a hardening sealant, and I've seen it, I don't know how many times, where they'll apply this stuff, go, "It's caulked in, you'll be fine." And then the first rain, it's leaking in. They're like, "Well, I thought it was all caulked in." Well, they used the wrong type of caulking. It's
that technical part that you're good at and that you're training the other people on. Absolutely. Hey, I was going to ask you, having a display or a showroom, game changer? Would you do it again? Would you do it differently? Would you make it triple the size? Would you cut it to half?
Having a showroom gives a customer the ability to maneuver a real window, a life-size door, all that. It gives them a chance to really look at it, because not everybody can just go off of, plans, what you're telling them, and what the brochure says, or a small little sample corner, that the manufacturer gives you. or a small little sample window. It doesn't work for everybody. You know, there are the group of people who are like, do you have something that I can move, that I want to feel this. I want to see the handle. How does that handle? How does the door slide? How does a French door close? How does it lock? They want to see all of these things. A showroom gives them that. It gives them the opportunity to imagine how it would look in their house with our trimming, with our caulking, with our everything. It gives them a chance to see, this is how it could look. Yeah. Okay, I'm in.
So because you operated, I'm assuming you operated with.
Trying to picture it, but I just.
Yeah, it's a different thing, right? Because did you start with a showroom, or is this a relatively new addition?
Relatively new addition. Everything was done in-house, and it still is. It's still done in-house because I want to get the measurements. I want to see what the scope of work is, what style of lighting you have, stucco, everything else, and then give you an accurate bid that you're not going to have a surprise later, right?
Right.
The customer that just walks into a showroom, they can see and go, wow, these are beautiful windows. Okay. Now you can go into their house, give them the estimate, but they've already seen it. So now you have a leg up with that particular customer because they've seen it, they loved it. And now all they got to do is just trust that, you know, what you're saying and
is going to come through. Yeah. I'm going to get all business coachy right now, Sean. Is that okay?
Do it.
I'm going to do it. I'm a geek.
Do it.
I'm going to do it. I'll do this in business coachy language so everybody has a good laugh. Do you feel that having a showroom has increased your conversion rate to sale? Now let me translate it. Do you think having a showroom has helped more people out of 10 buy from you?
Yes, I would say.
Yeah,
I would say, yeah, absolutely. It helps you stand out too. You know,
well, much more professional.
Yeah. This place on a future YouTube channel or a YouTube video I'm going to do is I'm going to show the showroom and how we've got everything set up and do a walkthrough and show how these doors operate and windows operate. So that will be coming up in the future. But I am all about image, right? I'm a peacock, right? So I'm all about image.
I noticed your branding's on point. Your YouTube channel's excellent.
It has to be done right.
Yeah.
Or don't do it, right? I mean, I've seen videos where guys are trying to explain something and they have their iPhone out or whatever, and they're trying to explain something. You're like, oh my God, I'm getting a headache just watching, right? And there's a place for that, right? They're trying to show something so super simple and they just want to help you out, and I get it, I respect that. But what I'm trying to do, and I'll continue, is to just educate the customer in any way, shape, or form. And, future, videos would be like how to prep for a window installation. Like what should you do to be ready
on install day? Yeah.
We get asked that all the time from our customers. And it's like, you know what, if a customer's like, well, what do I have to do? Because there are those who are like, they ask questions online about everything. Well, I better have an answer. I'd like to have an answer for them.
Yeah.
It's my business. It's what I do. And I want to be able to help you, right? Or whomever. So
it's funny that you mentioned that. What should I do on installation day? So you're here on the Profit Tool Belt podcast, but my other show is called Cabinet Maker Profit System. And so I talk to cabinet makers, and a lot of them also do installations. And one of the problems you have with cabinet installs is probably something you see as well, where you show up to do the window install and Mr. Jones makes himself a cup of coffee, pulls out a lawn chair, and watches everything you do. you just did that muttering under your breath, right?
Like, nobody likes that.
But it goes to the preparation thing. So if you have I'm going to get business coachy here. We can translate it after. If part of your sales process is educating the customer that on installation day, here's the things that make the install go smoothly. You need to have your cat either locked in another room or take it to a friend's house, because they do like to, I don't want them getting the caulking on their paws, and you don't want them escaping if they're an indoor cat. The dog needs to be, you have to say this, children, while they're curious and they might be interested in seeing what's going on, it could be a dangerous environment. So you want to lay out all these situations and give people a reason to understand, okay, well, it's install day. We're going to be there to let them in. They're going to text us when they're done so we can come back, all that stuff. So you can just do your work.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I've had, when you were talking about the guy who puts the lawn chair out and And there are those who've done that, and I understand. While I understand that, yeah, there's a project that's being done in your house, kind of a big deal. I totally get that. But it's also kind of unnerving for installers or even myself. When I was out there, I know exactly what I'm doing, but it's just the guy can be 5 feet away or 4 feet away looking at it, and you're like, well, what are you doing now? And it's just like, slowing me down.
I know. I'm working.
Okay, we're doing this and that. And why? Okay, well, because this and that. And it's like, oh gosh,
No, the appropriate question is, how long have you been retired, sir? So as much as we're joking about this, I hope my dad never listens to this episode. And people have already heard me say this here, but he just had an aluminum roof put over his deck so that they could use it, a couple more months out of the year. And he pulled out a lawn chair. He doesn't even know I talk about this. He pulled out a lawn chair, made himself an espresso because we're Italian, and he watched these poor guys work. And then he told me about it. And I'm like, Dad, you can't do that, man. He goes, no, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They work fast. And I'm like, okay, but he actually did it, but he's retired. He's got nothing else to do. And this was a big deal, right?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. So for any homeowner who would watch this, it becomes a little unnerving. You might almost slow people down a little bit because of that. Not that they're trying to hide anything that they're doing, but it just comes down to it's if you're trying to do something or draw something and somebody's just watching you, it just kills the whole mode. It just kills it,
Yeah. Answering the customer's questions, though, is actually how you and I met each other, because I said to my assistant, I said, I need to find people who are experts in their field, and I can find those experts on YouTube. So you've got a YouTube channel with great topics, like very simple, very nicely captured, they're 10-minute videos, 3-minute videos.
Yeah.
Thinking about, and I'm saying this to everybody here, think about what your customer's curious about.
Sure.
So I know we're joking about it, but you watch how many people will click on this. What do I do with my cats on window installation day? I'm not kidding. People that love their cats or their dogs, they love. I'm not talking about barn cat. What's that?
I have a dog. And so whenever there's an electrician coming over or whatever, I grab him and he's with me all day.
That's right. And so, but isn't that a question people would have? And if you're the company who gave me the answer, what do I do with my cat on installation day?
Sure.
Then we're already getting along really well. And I'm now drawn more to your company than the other guy who shows up with a number on the back of a business card or a blank piece of paper with some scribbling on it and a price at the bottom. I have to make the right choice here, right? But let me do this. How did you decide to start a YouTube channel, and how did you break it up into topics?
Great question. So when I was working at the manufacturing plant, they had a marketing guy who started to create little videos about the manufacturing process, or how to adjust a patio door and different things like that. And they were asking me a bunch of information because I was a technician. What would how do you do this or how do you do that? And it's like the marketing guys are asking the technician guy, for pointers, or can you, act this out for me so I can replicate it myself later or whatever. So I guess part of it was having some communication with the marketing group there. It just dawned on me, and also I would go on to YouTube and look up this or that or the differences and I didn't really care much for what I was finding or not finding.
So you weren't feeling the brand standard of what you expected wasn't being met online.
Right. And so I said, well, being a master in this field, I want to be able to help the consumer, the user. And again, years of having a little lady crying because I can't fix her problem, because it's not a manufacturing issue. It's something else that stays with you, man. That stays with you, and you drive away from things like that, going, "Oh, I would never. How could you do that?" And then let me educate people on how to install the right way, the proper way. I'm a certified installer, master installer. I can educate people. And an installer, can learn something from me sometimes, because a lot of times they're following whoever taught them how to do. I've had a video I watched on YouTube, a retro replacement. They took caulking and they made a little zigzag on the back of the retro flange. I literally replied, never, ever, ever, ever put caulking in a zigzag fashion on the back of a retro flange. You put it on the metal frame after you've dusted off and everything. And I have a video that basically goes, you know, my brush, my little dust brush is my #1 tool, because caulking doesn't want to stick to dirt.
That's what sells, Sean, that's what sells the jobs.
I'm serious, man.
Hey, listen, if you get insane about that level of detail and it's a makeup brush from Maybelline and people are like, okay, this guy's serious. That like, okay, that's our guy.
So it's just little things like that, you know, that I would hope somebody gets to watch and goes, you know what, I've been taught to do something completely different than this. I think I want to try that, because for one, it's AMA specified. That's the way to do it. And well, it just looks neater. You guarantee you can walk away from this job going, I don't care if it's raining outside. I'm not going to get that call. You know what I mean? And we don't get those calls. We don't get those calls.
Well, those calls, and we've done the math here before. This is, any standard company is going to have their own numbers, but one callback. So one hour trip for one guy in one vehicle is $600. And that's minimum. That's if it's on the other side of your parking lot. That doesn't include the job you did on the north side of town and then had to go all the way to the west side. Like, it is real profit drained from your company because of zigzag versus straight versus clean surface versus who cares.
Yeah.
And you're just costing yourself money. And we all have rework we have to watch for.
Yeah.
Let's mention the name of your channel on YouTube. Go ahead.
So it's simply American Window Concepts.
Yeah. I have really enjoyed our interview. So I'm going to ask you in a second how people can get in touch, but I'm going to talk to the audience first. If you're listening to this show, go on YouTube and subscribe or like one of his videos or like the channel. Let's give him a thank you for being here. And Sean, if somebody wants to get in touch with you after this and find out more or learn more or XYZ, what do we do? How do we find you?
Just go to the website. We keep a hard eye on it. So just go to AmericanWindowConcepts.com. And there's an area on there where you can just, if you want to get a quote or if you want to just contact us, all of our information is there. And I'm always happy to help out however I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you. It really has been great talking to you today. I think we could have gone down a couple of different paths. I want to talk to you about branding. I want to talk to you about showrooms. I think I probably want to talk to you about something to do with hiring or training, but you don't know that. You're just doing it intuitively, which is great. But I think there's some things we could learn from you.
Hire from my gut really is what it comes down to. You know, you're going off of personality. I don't need people to know how to install, or have, a construction background necessarily. It's better, right, if they have some kind of a background.
Yeah, because then they know what construction means. It's
yeah. A lot. You're looking at a tool truck. You got it. So you kind of get the gist. And all the same is you're dealing with people who their personalities are a little more harsher, technically speaking, than if you've come from a retail background,
a service background.
Nah, you're not going to get that so much from construction. You're going to get guys who are like, go get that hammer, go do this, go do that. And you got to be okay with that. You know what I mean? And be like, they don't mean harm. They need things done as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So
we call it task oriented when we're going back to Myers-Briggs. Yeah. Sean, thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I want to leave some stuff to have you back again as a guest. So thank you. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon. Thanks so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Bye-bye.